Okay, so welcome to our first lecture for the Module 1 for the Earth and Life Science, and this will be for the conditions for life to exist on Earth. So anyway, if you need a copy of this module, you may refer on the links below at ma-access nyo naman yung PDF niyan, no? So if you just need the PDF, nandun lang yan, no? Pwede nyo i-access sa baba. Okay? And so, pwede itong magamit yung mga lecture natin dito. For example, for your review, for your exams, as well as possible, may mga tanong kasi dito possible na lumabas din sa entrance exams. For example, you want to review for your UCAT exam or BCAT exam. So, nandun yung mga videos ko regarding this. No? So, I'll still be sending some possible videos of other topics. So, okay, so let's start. So number one, we have the conditions for life to exist on Earth. So this will be the first topic. So of course, let's summarize ano ba yung mga conditions for life to exist on Earth. Number one, we have the presence of water, the right amount of temperature, the composition of atmosphere, the energy source, as well as nutrients. So isa-isa-isahin natin yan. So number one, we have the presence of water. So the importance of presence of water is it allows presence of photosynthetic organisms to survive. Why? Simply because they use this water to undergo photosynthesis and therefore there is a production of energy. One good example for that is the cyanobacteria, which uses carbon dioxide and water to produce biomass and oxygen. So this utilization of photosynthesis allows production of energy. Another important characteristics of water here in Earth is that it exists as liquid in most of the temperature. So usually, kailangan natin, no, para magamit natin si water, kailangan naka-liquid form siya. And remember, the boiling point of water is at 100 degrees Celsius and the melting point of water is at 100 degrees Celsius. Therefore, at 10 degrees Celsius to 90 degrees Celsius, it will exist as liquid form. No? Now, just a little bit review of our chemistry. No? So, review lang natin yung chemistry natin. Why? Simply because by knowing the melting point and boiling point, we can know what will be the phase of that matter in a given temperature. So for example, meron tayong given temperature. So if we have a given temperature, so usually, if the boiling point and melting point, so this one is the given temperature as x degrees Celsius. If the melting point and boiling point is below that given degree Celsius, that will gonna exist as gas. And if the boiling point is higher than the given temperature and the melting point is lower, that matter will then exist as liquid. And if the boiling point is higher as well as the melting point at a given temperature, then it will exist as solid. So try natin mag-practice no ng mga common question dito. So try natin for example mag-practice dito. Oxygen's melting point is negative 218 degrees Celsius and the boiling point is negative 100 degree 83 degrees Celsius. Therefore, at 5 degrees Celsius, anong phase niya kaya? So we take note that this negative 218 and negative 183 is below 5 degrees Celsius. So therefore, oxygen at 5 degrees Celsius will be expected to be in a gaseous form or in a gas phase. Now, how about pure carbon? Pure carbon's melting point is 3,550 degrees Celsius and the boiling point is 4,827 degrees Celsius. Therefore, at 1,200 degrees Celsius, is it at blank phase. So, makita natin dito, no, mas mataas si melting point and boiling point sa given temperature na 1, 2. And therefore, at 1,200 degrees Celsius, it will exist as solid phase. And let's try to look at the mercury. Mercury's melting point is negative 38.3 and the boiling point is 356.87 degrees Celsius. Therefore, at room temperature, which is 25 degrees Celsius, it will exist as what? So, mas mataas si 25 degree kay negative 38.3, pero mas mababa siya sa boiling point na 356.87. Therefore, at 25 degrees Celsius, that mercury is at liquid phase. And so, yun na nga, no? Para magamit kasi natin si water, so kailangan naka-liquid form siya. And one good thing about it is that the water, in most of the cases, is in liquid form dito sa Earth. And so, another uh, another importance, no, meron tayong makita dito yung mga landforms natin. So landforms allows water to cycle from high and low elevations and can be replenished through seasonal changes. So important na important yung water flow so that we can use it or para magamit yan ng mga living things. Now, you just have to review kung ano ibig sabihin ng mga surface runoff, and then also we have the groundwater. You know. Next, so we have the presence of water as the first characteristics. Number two, kailangan din para may mabuhay, we must have the right amount of temperature in a certain planet. And life is limited to what? It is limited to negative 15 degrees Celsius to 115 degrees Celsius. Of course, ito yung sinasabi natin yung mga life forms that can exist, no, in this kind of temperature. Meron naman tayong mga organisms that can live in extreme temperature, in extreme cold and extreme temperature. But we are talking about here the complex living things, no? Ang pinag-uusapan natin dito, it could be the plants, it could be the animals. So here, it ranges from negative 15 to 115 degrees Celsius. And because of Earth's right amount of distance from the sun, it can sustain life due to right amount of temperature. Sabi nga, no, mapalayo lang tayo ng konti sa sun, in a several kilometers, is masusunog yung Earth. So, hindi na siya capable for living, or mapalapit lang tayo ng konti pa do sa perihelion, mapalapit lang tayo ng konti pa dito, hindi na mag-exist, no, yung life sa Earth because magiging sobrang init na. And mapalayo lang tayo sa uphill ng konti, magiging sobrang sobrang labig na. So the Earth is in perfect position. So another thing here is that Earth's tittling can cause seasonal changes and thus allows water flow. So important din yung Earth's tilt, no? And the Earth's inclination is 23.5 degrees Celsius. Now, kapag hindi siya naging 23.5 degrees Celsius, it will gonna have a large effect. Number one, on the seasonal change. So, may isang study na ginawa na kapag kinumpare natin yung mga angle tilt, bakit hindi siya 0 degrees Celsius, no? Bakit hindi siya 0.60, bakit hindi siya 45 degrees Celsius, bakit hindi siya 60 degrees Celsius, and bakit hindi siya 90 degrees Celsius kagaya ng Uranus? Pag hindi kasi siya naka 22.5 degrees, mataas ang chance na magkakaroon ng sudden seasonal change, no? So yung 22.5 degree, there is a perfect reason bakit 22.5 degree. And with that, meron tayong constant seasonal change. Hindi biglang nagbabago. Hindi biglang pabago-bago. Okay? So you may want to read on that. I place here the link. So kung gusto niyo basahin yung tungkol dito, so feel free to read it, no? Next, another condition for the life to exist is the composition of atmosphere. So, yung Earth as a planet, the Earth atmosphere traps heat supplied by the sun. This is called as the greenhouse effect. Yun ang tawag natin dito, no? So, yung mga gases natin, ano ba yung mga greenhouse gases that we can see? We could have the carbon dioxide, the methane, the water, okay? So, it traps the solar radiation, and there is a process, meron din tayong greenhouse effect. Now, pag na-trap kasi natin yung heat, it will allow the living organisms to survive, no? So that's why yung natural greenhouse effect is beneficial for life form. Yun nga lang ngayon, mataas na kasi yung mga carbon dioxide emission natin as well as the methane emission. That's why minsan delikado din kapag masyadong mataas yung greenhouse gas emissions such as the methane. Why? Possible na matunaw yung mga polar ice caps natin. At yun na nga, no, yun ang nagiging cause ng climate change. And what will gonna happen, mas maraming flooding, no? So, anyway, what I want to emphasize here is the natural greenhouse effect is beneficial for the life to exist on Earth. So, atmosphere conditions allows control of heat to be absorbed. Now, and basically almost 51% absorbed by the Earth's surface. And also, our atmosphere, it also protects us from harmful radiation. And the presence of ozone, which is O3, helps the Earth to be protected by the harmful UV rays, and particularly the type B UV ray. By the way, meron tayong mga types of UV rays. Yung nakapasok sa atin is pwede yung UVA, which is 315 to 400 nanometers. Okay pa yon, no? So basically, delikado din siya, but not as dangerous as UV type C and UV type B. Now, yung pinoprotect, the ozone protect us from the UV type B and the UV type C. And so the ozone, kapag tinamaan kasi siya ng UV rays, yung ozone, no? So the O3, magiging O2. By the way, kapag sinabi natin ozone, that is O3. Okay? So what will gonna happen is yung ozone, pag tinamaan siya ng UV rays, may split siya into oxygen, which is O2 plus O. And so, yung energy na makukuha doon, magkakaroon ng splitting. And so what will gonna happen? Mapoprotect tayo from the UV rays. And then, another thing, what will gonna happen here is ozone is created by extremely energetic UV radiation. So nagkakaroon lang tayo ng cycle of ozone production. Now, yun nga lang, kapag mataas ang pollution, instead na magre-react to mga oxygen dito sa another O, magre-react to sa mga chemicals such as yung mga chlorofluorocarbons, sa mga chlorine, doon siya magre-react. So, nabubutas yung ozone layer. So, we have a separate topic on that. Okay, again, so we have, for us to have, for life to exist on Earth, we must have a proper composition of atmosphere. Next, aside from that, aside from protection, atmosphere also contains nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide. And I know na familiar kayo dito sa nitrogen cycle natin. Why? Bakit important to? Because in the atmospheric composition, nitrogen composed of around 78%. So, ibig sabihin, pinakamadami si nitrogen. And yung pure nitrogen, hindi natin magagamit yan. That is why kailangan ng process, kailangan ng mga nitrogen-fixing bacteria so that we can use the nitrogen para maging NH3 and NO2. Basta kailangan nating magamit si nitrogen. Hindi natin magamit si pure nitrogen, no? Kasi very unreactive siya. And that is why meron tayong nitrogen fixation. Saan natin makikita yung mga na-breakdown nitrogen? Usually, yung mga molecules na yon, gagamitin yan to create the molecules of life. Ano ba yung mga molecules ng life natin? So we have the carbohydrates, proteins, fats, lipids. So we have the fats or lipids, and we also have the nucleic acids. At ano yung mga common sa kanila? Ang common elements sa kanila are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Especially proteins. Ang proteins is meron tayong, kung papansin nyo, ang structures ng protein natin is meron tayong nitrogen component in the form of NH2. So, lahat, no? Merong carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. So, with this atmospheric condition, kasi nga mataas ang nitrogen natin, pwede natin itong magamit for chemical composition. And again, yung mga biomolecules of life, the carbohydrate, proteins, fats, and nucleic acids, are composed of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and particularly nitrogen. So another characteristics para magkaroon ng living things ang isang planet is what we call as the energy source, no? Saan ba tayo kumukuha ng energy source? Well, pagdating sa Earth, yung star natin is yung sun. And therefore, yung sun yung energy source natin. And makikita nyo dito sa diagram, no? Yung energy source ng sun, it could be, we could have this, the light will be used in the photosynthesis of the plants. And then yung plants, yun yung kakainin ng mga animals. And yung mga people, pwede kainin yung plants or yung animals. So, nakapag-move tayo. So, another one, yung plants, pwede siyang maging fossil fuels, no? Yung fossil fuels, pwede siyang i-burn, and yung fossil fuels, yun yung source ng mga gasoline natin. And then also, yung fossil fuels, pwede din siya magkaroon ng electricity. Another one, pwede din tayong gumawa ng solar panels, and then with that solar panels, pwede tayong magkaroon ng electricity. So, makita natin dito, no, yung sun, yung source ng energy natin. So, the sun gives us energy, and then therefore, the earth is capable to provide qualities for living, provide characteristics for living things, no? So, tingnan natin dito, no? Plants are our natural solar panels. It allows production of energy through photosynthesis. So, bakit ba important yung photosynthesis? Simply because yung carbon dioxide and water, pagdating niya sa chloroplast ng plants, nagka-undergo siya ng photosynthesis, and ang byproduct niya is glucose or yung sugar, no? C6H12O6 plus the oxygen. So, yung complex na yan, yung process na yan, dumadaan yan sa very complex mechanism which pwede nating i-review sa biology, no, yung photosynthesis. Pero ang end product natin, bakit gusto natin magkaroon ng photosynthesis? Simply because we need to produce glucose, and glucose is a form of a stored chemical potential energy. And that glucose, pag kinain niya ng mga humans or animals, mag-undergo yan ng cellular respiration. At yung cellular respiration natin, ang goal natin kasi sa cellular respiration is mag-create tayo ng mga ATP or yung tinatawag natin na adenosine triphosphate. So, at the end, no, pag pumasok yan sa cells natin, so sa mitochondria, mag-generate tayo ng ATP. Para saan ba yung ATP? Well, yung ATP na mapoproduce natin, ito yung energy natin, no, which is in the ATP. Yung ATP na mapoproduce natin, ginagamit natin yan sa pag-move ng muscles. So, halimbawa, we have here the sliding filament theory for muscle contraction and movement. Meron tayong certain chemical pathways wherein yung ATP natin nagiging ADP and adenosine diphosphate at nagiging pag nagkaroon ng ATP to ADP transformation, nagkakaroon ng movement ng mga muscle natin. Another one is for the nerve conduction. Because of the ATP, nagkakaroon tayo ng mga nerve conduction. And then this is a very complex pathway. So you might get an interest paano pag-aralan to. So lahat na pag-aaralan sa biology. No? So yung mga details nitong process na to, yung photosynthesis, cellular respiration, if you want a more detailed discussion of this, pupunta tayo ngayon sa biology. Next. Another characteristics for the life to exist is the presence of nutrients. All planets and moons have the same chemical general makeup. So planets with water cycle or volcanic activity can transport and replenish chemicals to be used by the living things. So here, ito yung kapag tinignan nyo class sa periodic table natin, these are the most common elements which is especially yung naka-violet, no, these are essential for humans. Yung others naman that might be non-essential or hindi important sa humans. Now, yung naka-green suggested to be essential for humans. So I think in a trace amounts, yun yung suggested to be essential for humans. Now, if you look at the elements of the human body, ang pinakamataas na composition natin is we have here the oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus, no? And we also have lesser elements such as the sulfur, potassium, sodium, chlorine, magnesium, iron. And itong mga sulfur, potassium, sodium, chlorine, makita nyo yan sa nerve conduction. And magnesium is very important for heart pumping. Now, yung iron naman, that is for hemoglobin in the blood. Now, of course, kailangan din natin ng chromium, cobalt, copper, fluorine, iodine, manganese para mag-proceed yung mga biochemical reaction natin. So, anyway, that's why, no? Saan natin nakukuha itong nutrients na to? So, at the end, nakuha natin itong mga elements na to, pwede rin natin siya makuha sa volcanic ash. Bakit? So, ibig sabihin, yung lupa natin, no, yung lupa mismo, mataas siya sa nutrients. E saan ba nanggagaling yun? Of course, nanggagaling yan sa possible, no, pag nagkaroon ng eruption, so tumataba yung lupa. Kaya nga may maririnig kayo, it doesn't mean na kapag merong volcanic eruption, wala na siyang benefit. In fact, may mga benefits ang eruption ng volcano. Pero ayaw natin yung delikadong part, no? Ang gusto natin yung benefits, no? So number one, we could have a geothermal heat out of it. And then we could also have rich soil to grow crops. Some volcanic soils are rich in minerals that can help grow rice, vegetables, and fruit crops. Okay? So, yun yung mga conditions natin for life to exist. So, recap lang tayo ng konti. Okay, what are the conditions for life to exist? Number one, presence of water, right amount of temperature, composition of atmosphere, energy source, and nutrients. So, ano yung mga possible questions dito? So, try tayo magsagot ng mga possible questions. So, number one, Earth can be able to sustain life due to right amount of temperature. What is the temperature range to sustain life? And if we look at here, the temperature range would be letter C, negative 15 degrees Celsius to 115 degrees Celsius. Number two, the melting point of water is at 0 degrees Celsius and the boiling point is 100 degrees Celsius. What is the phase of the water at 125 degrees Celsius? So makikita nyo dito, mas mababa si boiling point and melting point, so 125 degrees Celsius. Therefore, yung water natin, mag-i-exist siya as gas at 125 degrees Celsius. Buti na lang yung Earth, hindi siya 125, buti na lang 25 degrees Celsius. Yung room temperature natin, no? Kasi kung 125, kukulo yung water natin. So, hindi rin natin siya magagamit. Next, number 3. The Earth's seasonal change can help water and nutrients flow. The season is caused by, ano ba yung nagkakos ng season? Is it A, Earth's inclination at 23.5? Letter B, Earth's revolution at Earth's orbit? Letter C, Earth's presence of volcanic activity? Or letter D, Earth's moon presence and its gravitational effect? So the answer here would be, ano yung nagkakos ng season based on our discussion? That is Earth's inclination at 23.5 degrees Celsius. Next, number 4. Which of these element is not the main composition of living things? And of course, yung hindi natin, ang wala doon sa list natin is the helium. Next, which of these is the most abundant element in the atmosphere? Ano ba yung dot dito? Tanggalin natin dito yung dot na to. I think that sustains life, no? So, ang sagot natin, which is most abundant element, that would be the nitrogen in the form of N2. Okay? Hindi si oxygen ang most abundant element, no? It is nitrogen. Okay, next, number 6. Energy from the sun is basically harnessed by plant through blank, and the end product is glucose or sugar. This sugar will be used by heterotrophs such as animals to produce ATP by the process known as, and of course, yung one natin, that is photosynthesis. And yung process natin ng paggamit ng glucose to produce ATP, we have the cellular respiration. And so the best answer here would be letter B. Next, number 7. Which is true for a planet to become habitable? Is it A, it must be far from the sun, so it can only receive less amount of sunlight? B, it must be in a position where it can maintain its liquid component, remain as liquid. Letter C, the planet must be closer to sun, so it will receive much sunlight. And letter D, it must have a thick atmosphere to limit the amount of solar energy it receives. I think the best answer here So, yung it must be far, so kung far naman, magiging ice, no? So, magiging ice yung water. How about letter B? So, tama yung letter B, no? How about yung letter C? The planet must be closer to sun. So, kapag too much close naman, masusunog, no? Or hindi na mag-boil yung water. So, hindi rin maganda, no? And how about letter D? It must have a thick atmosphere to limit amount of solar energy. Actually, thick atmosphere, siguro hindi naman sobrang thick, no? Okay na siguro yung right amount of atmosphere. Kasi nga, greenhouse effect is also beneficial, no? For us to trap this solar heat. Kapag na-trap natin yung solar heat, we can use it for energy. Okay, next, number 8. So, tingnan tayo, no? Tingnan tayo ng medyo may calculation. Refer to the diagram below. The energy of sun directed to Earth is around 1,360 watts per meter square. Based on the diagram, the energy absorbed by the land and ocean per square meter is. So, hanapin nyo lang dito, saan ba yung, ano ba yung energy na na-absorb ng land and ocean? So, around 51% daw. So, kung yung direct natin, sabi natin, incoming solar energy is 1,360, which is 100%. So, 1,360 times 51% or 0.51, and that is equals to 1,360, parang half niya, no? Times 51% or 0.51, that is 693.6. So, ang pinakamalapit natin sagot dito would be letter C, 690 watts. Next, number 9. The amount of energy reflected by clouds is 280 watts per meter square. So, ibig sabihin, what is the surface of energy reflected from the Earth's surface? So, makita natin dito, kunin natin si energy reflected from the Earth's surface. And then, sabi natin dito, energy reflected by the clouds is 20%. So, ibig sabihin yan, kung yung energy na reflected by cloud is 20%, meaning to say, 280 is 20% of what? Of X, no? Of unknown, no? So, ibig sabihin, ano daw yung 20% ng unknown? Okay? So 20% of unknown is 280. So if you're going to solve for that, that would be 280 divided by 20% or 0.20. And so 280 divided by 0.20, that would be 1,400. So ibig sabihin, yung energy na nanggagaling sa solar energy is around 1,400 if you're gonna round up it. And ang tanong sa atin is the amount of energy reflected from Earth's surface. And so we need the 4% of 1,400, the incoming solar energy. And what is 4% of 1,400 times 0.04? So that is 1,400 times 0.04. And that is 56. And so the answer here would be 56 watts. Okay, so possible, no, pag mag-take kayo ng mga entrance exams sa UPCAT or DCAT or other universities, pwede kasi marami yan mga computation, especially with the percentage. So pwede kayo maka-encounter ng mga ganitong question. Okay, so I hope this module will help. Now, ini-encourage ko, no, hindi natin i-substitute ko sa mga modules nyo. It will just be a supplement or a summary of your modules para anytime, ito na yung pinaka-lecture natin. And if you want to practice more para sa mga questions, meron tayong separate page for that. Meron tayong separate PDF on that. You can comment on that kung gusto niyo pa ng mga other questions regarding science. Okay? That might help in your future review. And that's it. Thank you very much for listening.